bring us her remarks and also do the official launch of the book. Please put your hands together for her.
But also isolate my Methodist former chair of the Northern Diocese where my own church is situated. But don't worry, I've also benefited from the Presbyterians. I was in a Presbyterian boarding school for a number of years before I went to secondary school. So we are all in this together. And unlike my son Bernard, they sang my favorite one. And that is Edikanfumo. It's very significant for me because we should never forget that wherever we think we are today, many people have made it possible. It's very important always to recognize them and even to, I see Professor Adai too, and even to acknowledge their efforts too, because without them coming forward, we would not be here. Thank you very much. I feel very humbled and privileged to stand before you on such an important day and on such an important event. We are here to celebrate the legacy of Dr. Ephraim Amu, a man whose contributions are unparalleled to our culture as Ghanaians, as he continues to show through his efforts with our needed resilience to inspire generations also. And I particularly need to thank my brother Akuno for ensuring that I was here, no matter what was going on. And of course, I'm very happy to be here. This event goes beyond the book launch, and it moves towards its appropriate destination. And that is a celebration of a legacy, of the example. And it enjoins all of us to reflect on the impact that one individual can make on an entire generation and beyond. There's so much you can learn from it. Dr. Amu, we normally remember him as a composer, but he was more than that. He was an educator, a theologian, a visionary leader, a nationalist. And he lived a life of purpose. And he has left behind a blueprint for patriotism, self-reliance, deepened identity, national pride. He was unwavering in his commitment to Ghana's cultural identity and moral integrity. And all of these made him an extraordinary figure whose contributions even discerned his impact on music or education, and he went on to shape the national consciousness. Today, as we launch this book, we are not just recounting history, we are reclaiming a vision. This book serves as a reminder of his teachings, his guide to present and future generations. It urges us to honor the wisdom, sacrifices, and resilience of those who paved the way for national development. Sometimes I just wonder, what was it like for him at the personal level in his quiet moments, when it's like you are running against the grain, but without that there will be no change. He was a man of many parts, a man of many gifts. He was a cultural architect. He knew that our future depended on our identity, which at the time, currently, I lament that we don't even talk about it. We don't even have discussions of our identity and where we should be heading, where our children should be heading, followed by the grandchildren. And we know all the examples he has left, from the review we know the local languages is composed in, the music, and so on. And this all begs the question, what have we done with these examples? We've heard them many times. What have we done with them? So, a charge we have to keep. He was a national influential thinker, and he truly demonstrated that progress wasn't possible when you abandoned who you were, when you abandoned your own heritage. And that, I believe, is part of the reasons why he would integrate music, faith, education, to transform him into one of Ghana's most influential thinkers and cultural revolutionaries. What a man. His masterpiece, Naana Opoku, again, is not a song only. It's a call to national consciousness, a call to action, a reminder to all of us to cherish who we are, to defend our land, to develop it to the interest of everyone. And today the words remain relevant to uphold the values of unity, of respect, of discipline, of patriotism, and of self-respect. His contributions to music are very well known, but along with the song, he carries the message. And the message is to advocate for a holistic education, the kind of education that nurtures intellect, morality, creativity, and above all, respect for human beings. We know his commitment to cultural preservation and self-reliance as the very foundations of life, as has been raised already. He wasn't a passive patriot. He was bold, he was deliberate, and he was transformative. He did not just talk about these, he embodied them and he lived them. His patriotism, again, was not just words. He took the necessary steps and practical ones to challenge the colonial status quo. By wearing his own clothes to church, he was just being himself. And to expect that that was an offense is interesting. But again, I ask myself, what have we learned from it? And I heard through the reviewer about his fabric that was woven. We live in a hot part of the country, and he wears cotton. What can be wrong with that? Sometimes I wonder if people like that were still alive, what would they say about us? Of all the examples we left, what have we done with them? I hear many people, especially the youth, talk to us about, oh, I want a role model. I said, they are there. And as Ghanaians see plenty. And he thought that education, especially which is the place where you nurture your human resource, whatever, must be the kind that lays minds to solve problems and not to become a burden on society. We need to promote ethical leadership to ensure that honesty, service to nation are prioritized and practicalized. We need to encourage self-reliance, equip individuals with various skills that will translate into productivity. And of course, he lived discipline. He didn't, to the priest, he didn't preach at us to be disciplined. He led the example. And if today we face new challenges and opportunities, living challenges and so on, we can ask ourselves if we are upholding the values of integrity and service. Are we truly embracing our identity in the way Amu envisioned? Sometimes you may say that, oh, we didn't know any better, but we have examples, at the very least, in the author we are celebrating today. And his confrontation was on ways in which Christianity alienated us from who we could be. And that was why he challenged the colonial interpretations of faith and of contextualized Christianity. He spoke to the hearts of all of us in languages we understand. And everybody knows I've been very, very passionate about the use of our languages in teaching our children. They don't have to spend so many years trying to understand English before they begin to learn. We already have set them back. I know it's a dialogue that needs to continue, and I urge all of us, our revered priests and our traditional leaders, to support that. And we know that even as the church broadly defined grows and expands and so on, we can never escape the example of our celebrant tonight. He was open to other cultures, but not in ways that would defray his own. And this is something which says a global world, or whatever we want to call it. We need to ask ourselves, where are we in that group? Are we part of it? And if so, in what way? It shows that the way in which we can be part of the human drive. And he was not one of the people who was happy or contented just to speak about progress. Again, he lived it. And his commitment, which is unwavering to this country called Ghana, lays in the way he carried himself, in the lessons he taught, in the music he composed, and in the way he related even with himself before going out to others. His vision for Ghana, where people worked hard, honored their culture, upheld discipline and integrity, is something we can all walk away with. And weak as we are, so try to emulate them. Madam Chairperson, today we stand as a nation at the crossroads of development. But we need to ask ourselves again. We have examples before us of national pride, self-sufficiency, discipline, sacrifice to embody as part of the building blocks. For far too long, we have allowed aspects of our own culture to be seen as obstacles. At many fora, I've raised the point, everybody tells us the negative aspects of our culture. I believe we all know that. It almost became a refrain. And I asked myself, will somebody talk about the positive aspects of our culture? So we all leave thinking that we don't have anything worthy. We need to reverse that dialogue and ensure that yes, we have challenges, but we've also had successes. We have successes, we have had successes embodied in people like Ephraim Amu. Otherwise, it looks like they didn't do anything. If we are not doing anything, let's accept it and change our ways. So this book is more than a collection of stories or letters or sermons. It is a living document. And it reminds us all that even one single voice, when it is committed to truth and service, can shape the destiny of a country, of a nation, in a very positive and lasting way. Amu has shown us that we don't have to wait for external forces to validate our worth. We can define our own path, write our own narrative.
So, by the powers conferred on her as both the special guest and the vice president, Ephraim Amu, nationalist, poet, and theologian, has been duly launched. Let's put our hands together one more time. Thank you so much. Please be seated together.